WVU has picked up a Power 5 transfer at a position of need. Let's go. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads webcast. And before I get into this video, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you would, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button, give us a like on this video. It'll really help its performance, which in turn helps future videos performances here on the channel as well. And if you're a West Virginia fan and you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. That being said, let's get into it. All right, as you can see here, West Virginia has secured the services of transfer wide receiver Devin Carter, coming from the ACC, previously at NC State, where he had spent 3 seasons there, garnered over 1,000 yards receiving for the Wolfpack, announcing on Twitter, as you see there, if you want to follow him on Twitter, @_D1C, tagging Coach Bilal Marshall, West Virginia's new wide receivers coach, in the tweet, saying, "Let's work," with his commitment graphic there, showing his commitment to the Mountaineers. So shout out to Bilal Marshall indeed, and shout out to the coaching staff for getting this one done, because this was no easy feat. The Mountaineers pulling off an impressive coup, if you will, actually. A little bit more story to this. Let's talk a little bit more about this as I update the transfer portal tracker here on the Country Roads webcast for West Virginia. All right, I say this one is interesting, and there's a storyline involved a bit, and West Virginia pulled off a coup because this one comes as a bit of surprise. Those of you that have been following along the channel throughout this offseason, as I've done these transfer portal updates, have seen me show a transfer target list for West Virginia, in which it's kind of players they've offered. I've tried to update this list as I've gone through and remove players that have committed elsewhere, and that's where this interesting storyline comes to play with Devin Carter. Because some of you may know, in some of the initial updates I did with these transfer targets, Devin Carter was on this list. However, he was removed earlier this year at the beginning of 2023 because he actually committed, announced his commitment to Penn State. So I removed him from the list. He was no longer on this target list. However, as you see tonight, deciding to flip to West Virginia very late at the last minute, ultimately enroll at West Virginia and play for the Mountaineers this upcoming season. And as if that wasn't interesting enough, just due to the regional connections with Penn State, do you guys know who West Virginia's first opponent is for the 2023 football season? That's right, you guessed it. It's the Nittany Lions. West Virginia will play Penn State to open the 2023 WVU football season. So this storyline of stealing a commit from Penn State, as I almost write Penn State there, he's actually from NC State, but he had committed to Penn State earlier this month. Ultimately deciding on West Virginia, the coaching staff pulling off a nice coup there very late in the process to get a transfer at a very important position that we all know West Virginia desperately needed there at the wide receiver spot. They've now added 2 guys there in the transfer portal, and Jashawn Polk, who they added earlier, and now Devin Carter. Jashawn Polk, also a kick return specialist, hopefully can help the Mountaineers there. But in Devin Carter, West Virginia's getting a wide receiver with Power 5 experience over at NC State. Like I said, over 1,000 yards receiving there. Speedy guy, I think, can really help West Virginia. Has great size there to play on the outside as well. So I'm thinking you got a guy that's looking at a great shot to be one of West Virginia's starting receivers for the 2023 season. 6'3", 215-pounder. Shout out to the coaching staff to be able to steal this guy away from Penn State this late in the process. Like I said, after he'd already committed to the Nittany Lions. And as if the return of that rivalry game didn't need any more storylines, it has another one going into it, and this is going to be something to watch heading into that game. West Virginia stealing away Devin Carter from Penn State, who they thought they had, but ultimately he's going to line up on the other side of the football, playing for the Mountaineers as they take on the Nittany Lions to begin the 2023 football season. So super exciting news for West Virginia in the transfer portal, something that we've all desperately been waiting to see is some positive news from the portal. I think West Virginia has finally brought that here with a trio of commitments, which I did a video on. Check that one out if you guys haven't already, in Devon Hawkins, Michael Hayes, and Keyshawn Cobb over the weekend. And then really the cherry on top, stealing one away from a regional rival in Penn State, who is also your week 1 opponent for a position that you really need at wide receiver, and you get a Power 5 player with great experience, great size, and good speed that's going to help you a lot this upcoming season. All right, so there you have it, Mountaineer Nation. West Virginia stealing a transfer commitment away from Penn State, landing the NC State wide receiver Devin Carter, What are your thoughts on West Virginia being able to pull off this coup so late in the process? Do you think this is the best transfer addition for West Virginia to this point? I certainly would argue it's the most necessary and the most important, probably, as West Virginia really needed some extra bodies there at the wide receiver position. They get that in Deshaun Polk earlier, and then now Devin Carter, who I think is going to factor in right away for the Mountaineers. Very unexpected, very surprised, but pleasantly surprised to see this. But what are your all's thoughts on the addition of Devin Carter, the job of the Mountaineers in the transfer portal, or even that week one matchup with Penn State there? Let us know your feelings down there in the comments. We really appreciate the interaction as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.